I just think this is such an important program. So one, thank you, Nelle, because the North Carolina Electric Member Cooperatives were one of the first funders, as were Roanoke Electric. So we've been working with cooperatives from the start, but affordability is the main barrier to people being able to use the internet. And the federal government, through the Infrastructure and Jobs Act, developed something called the ACP, or the Affordable Connectivity Program, which basically allows people to have a $30 subsidy, so $30 less per month for their internet. There's also a subsidy to receive a low-cost device. And so this is something that internet service providers will opt into, but if they receive any federal funds, they do have to participate in the program. This is a program that we expect to last into the future. And so it's a major win for making broadband affordable in North Carolina and across the country.
So many of us as businesses are digitizing our processes. You all in the financial services industry, that's certainly a big part of the work that's being done to be able to manage your dollars. People are now ordering food online, and those are, in Walmart and those folks that are in more rural areas all have apps now, and that's how people connect and have access to things. So the more we have in the literacy side for people to take part in the economy, the better off we're going to be. And we won't have haves and have-nots, we hope, if we do this well. So that's part of that conversation as well. I want to take a minute because I'm cognizant of the time, to open this up, and how can we be part of this conversation, and what can we do, as well as we've got other subject matter experts here. I'm looking at them. And they may have something or comments that they want to add, and I certainly want you all to hear from them. So let me throw this out. Who you guys know who you are. Would anybody like to add anything that we missed in the conversation thus far before we talk about what we can all do? Ed, or yeah, go ahead. And I'm sorry, I haven't had a chance to meet you yet. It's good to meet you.
So again, I'm Ken Mills, CEO of Xeris, used to be at Yatel. I think the only other thing, Debbie, I feel I'm kind of where Nate is. I'm 100% confident we have enough funds to get this out everywhere. It's going to take probably 5 to 6 years. A lot of these grants have timetables on them. I think you're going to see some acceptance made because of the shortage of products and equipment, etc. But I feel very confident stating that we'll have it everywhere throughout the state in the next probably 6, 7 years. We're about 82% fiber penetration in all of our areas. So we've got, but again, that last part is the most difficult. Put it in perspective. It's, to be honest with you, it's minimum $30,000 a mile worth of stuff. That's being very conservative. We do just do math. We sell our 100 over 100, $39. If you have 4 people a mile, you're talking about about 160 months of payback. That's the kind of payback you're talking about. So I think that's one comment I would say. The other one, Maggie, that we're running into, because again, we've gone into Forsyth County. We basically said we're tired of AT&T and Spectrum coming in. We're going after them. And we're taking market share. I'll just be very candid with it. We're using that money to help fund rolling it out in the rural areas, kind of a little bit like Robin did. So we offer 1, 2, 3, and 6 gig. And then in our trade area, we offer 100 over 100 because those people have been loyal to us. But one of the things that we still we're struggling with is the equipment that people have in their homes cannot handle some of these speeds. So I think that's something we all need to work on, whether it's routers. Now on our 1, 2, 3, and 6 gig, the routers included, Wi-Fi's included. But that's where we see a lot of disconnects. People have older laptops or equipment that's been passed down and they just, it's just a struggle, and so to speak.
We need to get one more right here. And then
That's a question. So, Don, I think most of what you said, you guys were upgrading most of your services, but this is to anybody in here that's built, that's new. So is 4 member, is that your typical take rate? I'm just wondering what your take rate is if you build X number of miles of line, and is there a typical take rate for folks that have never been exposed to rural broadband?
Well, I think with the ACP, there's no excuse for anybody not being able to get it. So, we haven't had these programs in the
Well, I'm
past.
not talking necessarily from a financial standpoint,
Right.
I mean, just from a 90-year-old grandma or from a 55-year-old, I'm an isolationist, I don't want to be a part of anything connected. Not from a financial standpoint, I'm just wondering what's your typical take rate?
60, 70%.
Okay, cool.
I was gonna say, we see as well, between 60 to 80, when we're applying for grants, we use about a 75% take rate.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I just wanted to mention something that has worked well for STAR. Kyle Randleman is our VP of marketing, and as we began to deploy fiber and would go into the communities and turn up a node, we would find a local fire department, a church, and I know it's out. Yeah. I need to, it's not, it's okay. It's a battery. I can speak
Just
pretty
talk
loud.
loud.
I can talk loud. I have 2 kids and a husband. So we would go into the rural communities, and for the gentleman in the back, I get it. We would get, our subscriber base is typically your mom and pops. That generation is still a large subscriber base for Star Telephone. It's sad to say that my friends from college say, Donna, I don't need a landline. They use their cell phone for everything. But yeah, we would go into your churches, your fire department, and teach them to use streaming, how to live stream TV, how to use a laptop and computers. And I'm like the gentleman from Yadkin. There's no reason today, well, I say no reason, there's some reasons. I actually heard it recently from a customer. They're very tight. We all realize that there's an 8% inflation going on across the world here. We had a lady just this week to say, my bill cannot increase a penny, a single penny. So she lived on a very tight budget, but affordability is key. But with the new programs, the $30 discount on your service, and then the equipment credit, it is much more affordable than it has ever been. But we do go into the communities as we turn up a node, and our marketing manager has done a great job with that education program. However, our business is construction and making it work. We're not educators. So I'm happy to hear from Maggie's team. We need that. We've needed it for a long time.
And I just want to add one thing. So cooperative extension works not only in the agriculture space, but also with family and consumer services extension agents as well. Just last week, they advertised for their first digital literacy position. So this is going to be really neat because we could have, we have 100 counties, and we have some great extension agents. And this is where y'all can also come and talk to your county manager about hiring these positions. They do training, they do meetings very, very well. And this could be a really good next step to helping to get more education out there.
I just want to add to that. Yeah, so this position's in Randolph County, and one of the programs they want to pilot is kind of like if you're familiar with the Cooperative Extension Master Gardener program, but create a program of volunteers who know different aspects of digital literacy. So if you work for a bank, cooperative bank maybe, how to log on to your app for your bank and use financial services, or other kinds of digital literacy like we talked about. And so that's something they're trying to get off the ground. And so that could be something that you all think about as well, as how do you leverage your expertise to train those in the community.
And I do want to, the point of education program, credit unions, they're not banks. Okay, the electric cooperatives have been deploying thermostats and water heaters for demand response, so we can what we call basically manage the peak, so we can keep electric costs down. And so those have to have broadband. So for us to be able to have our members have the same opportunities on the other side of the meter, as we call it, in their homes or in their businesses, broadband is imperative. Electric cooperatives want to do everything they can to make it happen. So I'm going to ask Ed just to talk a little bit about what Skydust is doing, because they are partnering with Blue Ridge because this is so important. And in their topography, in their geography, certain things work and certain things don't work because of hills, trees, mountains. So why don't you talk a little bit about what you want?
Sure. Again, my name is Edward Henson. I'm Chief Marketing Sales Officer for Skyline Skydust. And our headquarters is in West Jefferson, North Carolina. If you're not familiar with that, it's in the most northwest quadrant of the state. We're about 20 minutes from Virginia, 20 minutes from Tennessee, and it's a beautiful area in the mountains, but it turns out mountains are built on a rock, and which is very hard to deploy fiber and trench and dig in. If we could get 30,000 a mile, I would take it all day long. There are times we can't get twice that much. It is very expensive to deploy fiber, but we also understand that is where we need to be. And kudos and a major applause for the digital literacy side of it, and investment from electrical co-ops, because we need that education that's out there. We need that support. I can tell you in the 6 counties that we serve today, we in our cooperative footprint, we're a little over 99% fiber to the home. So we live in a great spot that is connected. However, there are areas that surround us that desperately need more service. So through our CLEC model, we're going out and expanding in there. And we're doing that, again, for those areas that's very rural. The gentleman in the back was asking about customer mile, those sort of things. Sometimes it's 4, 5, or 6 people per mile where there literally is no ROI. So we're, as a cooperative, we're shaving our margins down very, very low to nothing at times. And the only way that we can sustain this is through great collaborative partnerships. And that is with like Blue Ridge Energies. We served communities that there was no way we could serve it. And it even required, on top of the collaborative effort, funding. So we apply for great grant funds, and we're utilizing ARPA funds or ARP funds, name change. We're going to be applying for more BEAD funds as that comes out, and USDA as well. So it's just a matter of pulling all your resources that you can to talk about pricing, because it is a critical piece of it. The original funding that was out there was $50 per subscriber that could be taken advantage of, and that's been to make that program last longer, has reduced to $30, which is definitely a help. I'll be in DC at the end of next month, talking to more folks about how can we extend that fund and even get it back higher, possibly, because we want everyone to have a chance to be served as cooperatives. Someone mentioned at the beginning of the day, we went to the areas we have the products and services that no one else would provide, and that's what we do. So a lot of exciting things there. Some of our pricing when we go into an area to keep it affordable, $55 or $45, depending on the area, for 300 meg symmetrical service. The bandwidth, the thresholds keep changing. 2 years ago, we were applying for grants. It was 10 and 1. Last year is 25 and 3. Talking to Denny last week in Raleigh, I know some of you were there. He said, moving forward, it is the 100 by 20. One thing that we talk about as cooperatives is symmetrical, and that's the fiber optic service. So why spend our tax dollars and funding on yesterday's technology? That's what cooperatives are doing, and we are doing it at a very affordable price, and just again offering a service where no one else would. Yes. So ILEC is our incumbent local exchange. It's our cooperative footprint. CLEC is our for-profit entity that allows us to go out with different regulated type services, deregulated services to offer to communities that we don't serve today. So it's competitive. The CLEC side is a competitive local exchange that allows us to go into those areas that are outside our traditional footprint. Probably could have been said more eloquently from someone else, but I seem to be losing my voice for something. I guess I'm nervous. I know.
And the thing is that, we gotta, start talking about what we can do. And those of us in this room to support our partners that are working so hard to get this done. There are surveys, and Emily has a link for that as well, that the state is doing. We put it in Carolina Country Magazine. We're putting it on our social media. We want people to take the survey. The maps that are currently out there, that are sanctioned by the FCC, are terrible. I would use a different word, but we're in polite company. And the state is now finally working to really get the maps right, what we have, where we have it. And I think that is going to highlight some gaps and highlight some issues. And that's a good thing. And the legislators need to understand that. The policymakers need to understand that. So as many people as that can participate, because there are places in the maps currently that are sanctioned that say people have broadband or have speeds that they do not have. And so that's very, very much of an imperative as well. So we're trying on the advocacy side and also the outreach side to get that done. So that's one thing that co-ops on the electric side want to do to help get the information correct and get the facts in front of the right people so we can get the right things done. So sorry about that.
So I have to be honest, telecommunications is kind of fascinating to me. I've worked for two other large telecommunications companies. So it's kind of interesting to hear you guys talk about this stuff. My question, well, first I'll say, I've never heard of a telecommunications company talking about educating their customers about broadband. I've got about 7 to 10 years of experience in telecom. Never heard anyone speak about that. So I want to say kudos to that. That's a big deal, considering the market that you guys are targeting. My question, I think, is more, try to make it quick. What specifically are you training these customers in regards to, I think the term was digital literacy, because that can mean a lot of things. I'm actually curious where your focus is. And I think that's what makes both being cooperative and with the business model you guys are working with very unique. So anyway.
And members or member owners. So, I can't go up out the girl. Who would like to answer that question? Anybody? Okay, Don.
I will. Like I said, we would just have a Roku box set up. We would have a laptop set up. Basic internet skills. I know my own mother at her home. I don't want to slam anyone, but she is with CenturyLink now. Is it Brightspeed now? I believe their name. She does not have internet access. To say, Mom, online banking means nothing to her. We would start very basic with a laptop and show them how to connect with online banking, how to stream TV. So our philosophy is, if we turned up a node for fiber to the home and we didn't educate my 75-year-old mother, it's done us no good. Even though the return on investment is many, many years, we got to let them know it's out there. If you've only driven a Pinto all your life and never had a rear view backup camera, it doesn't matter. You don't know what you're missing. So education is key on that. We're trying to show them what they're missing. And like I said, we're not educators. So it's truly a marketing tactic, to sell them on this service that they didn't realize they needed. Does that answer it?
Oh, yes. Great job, by the way. I think it's
Thank you.
Yeah, we call that the cooperative difference. And I think you hit on that. That's what makes cooperatives different. And we want to make sure our communities are educated and they can use the services that we want to provide.
Yeah. So my question is, I know there's funding to help discount the rates monthly. For people like me who might live a little off the road and I have access to fiber on the road from a for-profit cable company that I don't like. I can't afford to get it to my house. We have a creek they have to bore under. We're far beyond what we can afford to get it out to my house. So we're on, and it is a nightmare at home. Are there funds that are, I mean, we've got all this funding coming from the federal for the infrastructure build outs. Does that include getting it to people's homes or just the roads in front of them?
That's a really good question. Who wants to answer that? Because that's tough depending on the circumstances. Ken? Or?
I think that you're gonna find that most co-ops will work with you, you know. I know, and so you're, I can't speak for Century, but I don't know how you all vote it. Anything over 1,000 feet, we normally charge for anything over 1,000 feet, but we make exceptions every single day. Okay. And a lot of times people are expecting to pay for their other utilities over 1,000 feet. But yeah, if you're with Century or Spectrum or any of these others, I don't know what to say. The only other thing I would say, when we go out and you're asking, the gentleman was asking about our take rates and stuff like that. You get a lot of people, older people go, I don't need the internet. And we say you watch TV. We start there. Well, we will save you $1,000 a year by helping you screen. And I will be honest, that's very difficult to get an elderly person to learn that screen. But truly, they will save in the network in the neighborhood of $1,000 a year.
I never thought my father-in-law would be watching TV on the internet, and now he knows she's
Yeah. So, and Wendy, you're not the only one that has that issue. I've received phone calls from members a lot that the fiber's going past their house, but they can afford to get it all the way down the road to their house on a farm. So it's still an in-mile issue. I don't know what the answer is, but you're not the only one because I hear a lot about it. When Ed's got something to offer.
Maybe. There, you know, with the funding that's out there, if there's a silver lining with COVID and the communication side of it or education piece of it, whichever way you want to look at it. The North Carolina Department of Infrastructure and Technology is doing a fantastic job of disseminating those funds. There's 10 different loan or fund grant type programs that are out there, and they're working on some of the language that's with it right now. And that includes from middle mile, you know, providers or what have you. Something that's happened, and I've been in telecom for 31 years. And I don't look like I started when I was 40, but I did. But the truth of it is, there's lots of ways that the funding could be used and the way it should have been used in the past. National providers, which I worked for one for about 8 years, so I was on the other side of it, telling a different story at that time, received funding, Connect America funding back in the day and those sort of things, but there was no checks and balances in those systems. They were given the money to build out to what areas you're describing, but they never did. There was no accountability, there was no checks and balances on it. Now, there's a big movement towards that. You're going to see a lot more about that in the press. We're having to report our numbers, what we're doing. We're glad to do that because we want to boast on how many people we can serve. Whereas a publicly traded company, they just took the holding to the shareholders. And so it's a very much different model. But specifically answer your question, there will be funding available as it's being scripted right now and drafted through the NCDIT. You can go to our website and look at that and see broadband.gov, I believe. And there's going to be funding that'll close those gaps from where you were today.
Okay, we're going to take 3 more questions and then I'm going to wrap it up because we'll have an opportunity for a refreshment. So, Meredith?
So we've talked about access for farmers, for electric. FinTech is also has a need. Healthcare with telemedicine. Do you see that we're working together? This is a perfect opportunity for Principle 6, cooperatives helping cooperatives, cooperatives working with non-cooperatives. Are we working together to solve this issue, or are we working in competition with each other for our own needs.
Anybody want to take that? I know healthcare is fairly well connected because the state made an effort to do that quite some time ago. So I think that's in pretty good shape. The library system is connected. Community colleges are connected. So some of those things that are out in the hinterlands are connected. And the state actually had an emphasis, and credit to North Carolina because they did it a long time ago. And they've upgraded that system over time. Has a lot of that done already. They have their own system. But does anybody have anything to add to that? I would say from a competitive standpoint, we have 2 electric cooperatives that are currently providing service in areas that TMCs are not there. And then we have other cooperatives that are partnering with TMCs and trying to do some middle mile work so they can spend their money on the in-mile stuff. So we have those aspects of where we're trying to work together. That's there for sure. Yeah. Okay, Donna?
Yeah, I just wanted to say, as far as the TMCs in North Carolina, I think we do a pretty good job working within our areas, within the ILEC versus the CLEC. Within ILEC, your area is defined. So, I think if Atlantic had a customer that maybe borderlined us in Columbus County, we would work together to do what we could to serve that customer. As well, there is a state organization, Access On, that I think is doing a tremendous job lately to be more collaborative, especially among the TMCs. What I know for STAR, us looking at increasing our backbone, Access On is a great way to do that. And it's owned partly by our telephone membership cooperatives. So I would say yes, I would say the TMCs work well together that I know of.
Yeah. And I'll say, because our job is to put coalitions together in counties of stakeholder groups who want to close the digital divide, we are seeing, particularly like the member cooperatives, join the table for that. And so we are also seeing that. I'm not from a cooperative, so I'm seeing that from kind of an outsider group that they're coming to the table. I'll also say, and if Nate was here, I hope that he would highlight this, but through the Infrastructure Act, North Carolina is going to receive funding to develop a statewide digital equity plan. And one of the things that the state will need to do is do listening sessions and bring groups together to learn about what the challenges are. And I would ask all of you that if you see listening sessions coming to your area, to attend and to be a part of those, because I think that's getting at your exact question.
Promise 2 more questions. Hands up. All right. I want to get this John lady in the back, and then I get you on. That'll be video. All right, Ms. Tara.
It's amazing that this conversation is got so much energy behind it, and I've seen in healthcare that it has been some progress. 25 years ago, we were talking about the same things when I worked at a local small hospital, that the telemedicine and the area health, the AHEC organizations, they got technology and equipment. In going forward, I agree in the first presentation that we're going to need collaboration across sectors. And one thing that we can consider is we've shown in the last 2 years that a lot can be done quickly. The funding also needs to be there for people who, regardless of whether you're a corporation or public sector or whatever, a lot of times the devices were not made available by the employers. So the employees are having to do MS Teams on their cell phone to participate in work meetings because the employer doesn't give them a plan or a phone. But in thinking about the economy, we do have a diversity even within the urban counties and then in the rural counties where the people don't have the access, or even getting the access of the broadband, which Angie from VIT came a couple of years ago and spoke to the North Carolina Society of Certified Public Managers, which I'm part of that organization. And it's collaboration between state entities, not just DIT, but other state entities necessary to get those right of ways and things that are necessary. So I see even more involvement with those other sectors. It's going to be key in being effective in getting the access and the tools that people need. And it will make the economy and the lifestyle in North Carolina better. So think about lifestyle issues and advocacy for underserved groups when you're also, petitioning for funding. Okay, Ron, we'll wrap it up.
Okay, I think it's touched on just a little bit, but when it comes to digital literacy, not just having them tie into our favorite shows on Netflix or whatever, but food is a big deal. And, there's a lot of folks that are involved in that, and access to food, nutritional food, addressing food deserts, and it's being delivered out now. Is that, I assume that that's part of it. Is that a big part of the digital literacy when you're meeting with people so that they understand how that system works, how they can engage and get food delivered to their home through the internet? This is what some retailers like Farley Seas and others see in the future. As they build new stores, it's not based on how close people can drive, but how far they can deliver. And so they're going to reach out a lot further. This is going to be a major part of feeding the world and getting that nutritional food at a competitive price rather than paying exorbitant prices.
Yeah, that's the adaptation in the business model that I think we're seeing, and I know Debbie touched on it a little bit. Do you want to add anything? Okay, Ron said it. So yeah, that's what I'm saying is as far as the inclusion to have people really participate in the digital economy. And it is for lifestyle, but it is for necessity, and it's also for employment. So it hits all the buckets there.
It might be a good way to partner with those that are trying to address food deserts.
Right.
Link it.
Yeah, and right. And that's absolutely true. I think the discussions are maturing. I think North Carolina, while it's frustrating, we're not finished yet. And we still got a ways to go. And I'm hoping it's 4 to 6 years and the other guys aren't done yet. Too bad. We're going to go take their stuff and do it for them. But those are the kind of things that this is where the world's going. And the digitization of our economy is going in this direction. And for precision agriculture to efficiently be able to feed the world for production agriculture, we better get our act together. And that's sort of where I am. So Debbie is being that into my head. So
One thing has not come up, sort of, to me, it's an elephant in the room. I'm a capitalist at heart, and that is every location in this state that is a land plat on the tax rolls that is not served by high speed is a lower value than the plat next to it that has it. And it seems to me, nobody's talking about that, but it seems to me that the counties would want to equalize their tax values across their whole county as much as they possibly could. I talk to folks all the time who bought a property in rural North Carolina, were told, and I know they were told by the realtor, yeah, we got high speed, and it's not there. It's not there. So, that's a big deal, guys. That's dollars and cents.
and I think to Ms. Terry's comments, we've talked a lot about rural, and that's where a lot of things are going, a lot of money. But the inclusion and the engagement in the digital economy, it doesn't matter whether you're rural or urban. We've got underserved areas. Ron hit it. We've got food deserts sitting right in the middle of downtown Raleigh. We've got work to do, and I think the cooperatives have the difference and the heart and the vision to really bring some solutions to the table. So we appreciate your time today. We gave you a bit of a call to action. Think through what your organization or you personally can do to help with this. We'll send out the survey information. put it out there on social media. You got a lot of followers, you got LinkedIn files, you got those types of things. Let's get folks engaged on the survey so we get the maps right, which is huge. And we'll also have the information for the affordability program, and anything else that Nate sent me that he wanted to get to you all. So appreciate your time today. This is a super important conversation, very engaged group. Thank you very much. Thank you to our panel. Please show them some appreciation.
Actually, we've got a couple little parting gifts for our panelists here.
I'm moving up quickly.
Excellent. Excellent. Oh, and it's time for another one? Let me use my small finger this time.
We made it to the end of the day, just before we have the adult beverages outside. Here is your consolation prize for having me come up here and coffee. So, here we go. Ticket number.
Just the last four? Because they all start the same, right? Okay. Ticket number ending in 2194. Oh, yeah? Hurry up.
Thank you.
So we are. Yes. So we are going to adjourn to the networking bar session. But first, remember to check out the auction items, to register, to bid on the silent auction items, and buy raffle tickets for the mountain getaway, right? Black Mountain Getaway. So go out there and make sure you do that because it supports the scholarship fund. Scan the code. Scan the code to do it online. See, everything's all digital. With that, we are going to adjourn to the networking session in the bar. We'll be back in this room at 6 p.m. They are going to reset it for dinner, so pick up your things and expect to come back to a slightly different setup. Yeah.